Booker T was announced on this show as the latest name for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2013. He joins the likes of Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Mick Foley, Trish Stratus, and Donald Trump for one of the strongest classes of inductees yet, maybe the strongest. I think 2004 might get the edge just because they inducted 11 people that year, which is a record. I guess they had a lot of catching up to do since they had not had a Hall of Fame induction since 1996. 2004 also had my all-time favorite Hall of Fame speech given by Bobby the Brain Heenan. That ending where he says he wishes Gorilla Monsoon were still there to see him inducted, that still gets me every time I see it. But this is a very impressive class, and I'm going to enjoy being there live to see it. I'm thinking they probably will add one more name before all is said and done. I've heard Kamala's name mentioned in some reports. I guess we'll know soon enough. But Booker is certainly a deserving candidate. You know, he came up as part of a tag team with his brother, Stevie Ray, who he had a personal falling out with many years ago. I know he has not, or at least until recently, he had not spoken with his brother in many, many years. Booker did say on Twitter that Stevie Ray would be there for the ceremony, so they must at least be on amicable terms now. Hopefully they patch things up. I don't know if Stevie Ray will be the one to induct him. They have not announced that, but as Harlem Heat, they got over as stars in WCW, and they won a record 10 tag team titles while they were there. Booker then got over as a singles competitor. I remember his best of 7 series for the television title with Chris Benoit like it was yesterday. I mean, those were the matches in my mind that really helped solidify Booker T as a singles performer. It's a shame those matches are never going to see the light of day again. In WWE, they tried to recreate the magic between Booker and Benoit by doing a best of 7 series for the U.S. title back in 2005, but it was not nearly as good. Both guys were a lot older. They were a lot more beat up by that point. Booker became WCW champion for the first time in 2000. He held the world and U.S. titles, in fact, when he signed with WWE in 2001, and they did the Invasion storyline. He had 2 belts. He feuded with The Rock. He lost the WCW title to him, and then he briefly feuded with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which included my all-time favorite segment ever on SmackDown, the Supermarket Brawl, which is still fun to go back and watch even today. And then, of course, Booker T did the tag team thing with Goldust, which was very entertaining. He does have on his resume a World Championship match at a Wrestlemania. That would be Wrestlemania 19 in Seattle, where he fought Triple H during Triple H's reign of terror as the champion. This is the match where Triple H buried Booker T 6 feet under. And, that's a term that is often overused and misused by fans. One person loses a match on TV these days and, oh my God, they're buried. That's not what it means. But if you look up the definition of the word buried in the wrestling dictionary, this is one match you would find near the top of that list. I mean, it still upsets me just thinking about it. First, to give you some perspective on this, to explain where I'm coming from on this, Booker T won a Battle Royal on Raw to become the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight title. Okay, he eliminated The Rock to win the Battle Royal. The very next week, so that would have been March 3rd, 2003. Okay, March 3rd episode of Raw in 03. I don't even have to look up the date because I know I'm right. I know this because I was at that show. It took place at the Nassau Coliseum. I actually remember walking to the arena from my dorm room, which was on the campus right next to the arena. It was freezing outside. I was sick as a dog. I had something like 103-degree fever. Absolutely no business I had being outside around other people. So sorry to anyone who I may have infected that night, but such is life. I remember it also because Stone Cold and The Rock had a face-off at the end of that show to build up their WrestleMania match. I just remember thinking how cool it was to see Austin and Rock in the ring together again, and this was in 2003. Okay, we were only a couple of years removed from the glory days of Rock versus Austin. People are still longing for those days today, and it's 10 years later, so think about that. But anyway, Booker T opened the show on that particular episode of Raw with a promo. And I remember he didn't even have very much to say. I mean, he started talking. I mean, maybe he talked for like 30 seconds or something, and almost immediately he was interrupted by Triple H's music. And so out comes the champion, Ric Flair at his side, and he proceeds to cut maybe the single greatest promo he's ever done to bury somebody on television. He tells Booker T somebody like you doesn't get to be the world champion. Obviously playing the race card. As if it wasn't obvious enough they were playing the race card. He made a comment about Booker's nappy hair as well. He said, "You're not a wrestler, you're an entertainer. You're here to make people like me laugh." And he said, "You're going to do what you do best at WrestleMania. You're going to lose." He said Booker accomplished nothing by being the WCW champion because the WCW title was a joke. It meant nothing. It was held by guys like David Arquette and Vince Russo. All of which is true, by the way. I'm not denying that. But why the hell would you bring that up in a promo? You're trying to build this guy up for a WrestleMania main event. I never understood the burying of WCW after they bought the company out. They own the name, the logos, the library, everything. I mean, it just made Booker out to be a total joke for no reason. And Booker just stood there and took it all. This is a wrestling problem, not a WWE problem to this day. They do it all the time. Why in the real world would the babyface just stand there and take that kind of verbal abuse without retaliating? It just makes the babyface look so weak. You know, especially when, like in this case, the bad guy just walks away laughing. This didn't end with Booker T attacking Triple H. He let Triple H walk away. So that brings us to WrestleMania. Giving you a little WrestleMania history lesson here. Now, supposedly Booker T was scheduled to win the world title on that show. And you know what? As a storyline, that actually would make a lot of sense. If they were going to tear down Booker T the way they did and make him look inferior to Triple H and bring race into it and treat him like a second-class citizen, you could justify it if he ends up winning the championship. In the end, if the good guy comes out on top, then it's okay. Instead, he lost. Just like Triple H said he would. No rematch, one and done, thanks for coming. And what angered me about the whole thing, it wasn't even the fact that he lost, okay? Forget that. It's how he lost. If you recall the end of that match, Booker T, he threw everything at Triple H. I mean, he even busted out the old Harlem Hangover. I thought he killed Triple H. He does that flip into a leg drop off the top rope. I thought he took the guy's head off. He threw everything at him. And out of nowhere, Triple H busts out a pedigree. Just one pedigree. Now, if he would have pedigreed Booker T and pinned him, fine. I still think that would have been kind of a weak finish. You know, even back then, everybody kicked out of everybody else's finisher at least once. But they didn't do that. Triple H hits the pedigree, and now both guys are down. Now, how many times have we seen this in a match? Guy hits a finishing move, but he's too weak. Can't capitalize. So both guys are laying there. Time passes. The guy crawls over. He puts an arm over him or he hooks a leg. And the other guy kicks out at 2.5. How many times have we seen that? Probably hundreds. Thousands, maybe. But Triple H hits the pedigree. Both guys are down. And a long time passes. It felt like an eternity. I mean, it really did. I mean, it felt like you could have played out the rest of the WrestleMania card and then gone back to this match, and Triple H still would be in the middle of crawling over to cover Booker T. So finally he crawls over. He covered, I don't remember if he just put an arm over him, if he hooked the leg. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think he hooked the leg. And 1, 2, 3. No kick out, no drama, no nothing. He just beat him. In the absolute worst way that you could possibly beat somebody. He buried him. Like I said, no rematch. Just move on to the next feud. Kill the next guy. And it just, again, I think back to that, especially now, all these years later, and it's really eye-opening to see how that whole thing played out. I mean, you look at The Rock on that Raw where Booker T won the Battle Royal, okay? He tossed The Rock out of the ring. Rock is sitting on the floor on the outside. He can't believe that this guy just eliminated him from the Battle Royal. Booker T's in the ring. He's doing a spin-a-rooney. And The Rock, who is a heel at this time, mind you, a very entertaining one, but still, The Rock was a heel. This was the Hollywood Rock character. He's on the outside clapping for Booker T. And I'm not talking about a golf clap. He's applauding the man. He's looking at the fans at ringside. He's pointing at Booker in the ring. He's saying, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. That's all he did. That's all he had to do. In those 5 seconds, The Rock did more to put over Booker T than Triple H did during their entire program. And that right there tells the tale of Rock and Triple H, by the way, back in the day. Who was interested in helping other guys and who was interested in helping himself. Now that he's mostly retired and he's going to take over the company someday, that should be less of an issue. But back then, that was a different story. So, yeah, now that I'm done ranting, Booker T is a well-deserving Hall of Fame candidate. Hopefully he'll avoid talking about WrestleMania 19 at the Hall of Fame, because otherwise I may flip out and you may hear me in the background on the DVD release.